Little did you know, right?
Little did I know.
Yeah. So kids in the school.
I've had 5 graduate.
5.
My baby graduated last year.
Yeah, but you've got all those experiences going through it.
Yeah, and I think someone graduated. Which is a good thing, yeah. I totally,
Hi. Good to meet you. I'm the new one. So we have a good balance here. We do.
Ironically, was just put on that for OSBA's maybe it's only just a day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's gonna be a
Well, it's just been so crazy. It's been, you know, it changes. I always have worked with Tennessee's hard, but okay, I'll do this. Your decision, always scrutinize or whatever, but then you can pay off big bucks. I just say.
big bucks?
Oh, didn't you know that? Yeah, right.
They'll get called first sometimes. They do a great job of funding.
yeah.
They get
Yeah.
Well, I've been blessed with her. I really have. You know, where I've been superintendent. Sure. It was free information with each other. Don't always agree. Nothing to do. And I'll tell you this, you know, I don't know how many years you know left with something, but we are getting along. Search team because of that. I think back. If you go back to 10 years ago, and 12 to 50, yeah, now 1 or 2 or 3 or somebody going to move. I don't think this.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
The lighting, she said,
So you said you're in Dublin now?
you're a huge part of that.
Hear those stories and whatever. You know, that's the rest.
You're Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does it matter that I turned that on sound up?
No, you didn't have it. When you shared it, it wasn't sharing any sound.
Right, but I mean, in the bottom right hand corner, where I turned that volume up, and that's anything else right there.
You said what, the mic isn't on?
The connect video, like when you connect audio and connect video at the beginning is
Zoom audio.
It wasn't, it is now.
Everyone, yeah, Jody's on.
Okay, perfect.
That's one of those.
Yeah, I was down by your
house.
Are you
You're just
kidding
talking
me?
about
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's why I was a little late, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's quite a.
Oh, I'm glad you got to see
I'm sure a
it.
lot of districts are jealous.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, we will resume our meeting, and anyone who came just for the celebration, you're welcome to leave at this time if you'd like. And we'll continue our meeting with additions and deletions.
Well, thank you. I apologize to our folks online. I guess our volume wasn't up at all up until this point here. So but that's okay. We'll carry our board meeting forward from this point. So we do have a number of additions to the agenda tonight. Most of them are items of information to the agenda. If you pulled up an agenda at the table, those were included. So we added a second legislative liaison report in section X of the agenda. We did correct the title of a teacher from a DA intervention specialist to a kindergarten teacher. We did add a donation from New Life Church in section 9, and we added to items of information in regards to ACT testing, and I'll share that in an update coming up here. So we do have a number of items that are added. Only one of them really is an actionable addition. As has been customary during the COVID timeframe, under items of information in the superintendent's report, I'll generally share a bit of an update of kind of what's been going on over the past month. And so I guess with that, I'll kind of pull this up and kind of present this here. So this is a remote learning day reminder. Friday, this coming Friday, February 26th, will be a remote learning day for all Mount Vernon City School students. And the reason for that is we have 320 plus staff members who will be receiving COVID vaccinations on this Friday. And the amount of time that it takes to get 320 folks through a vaccination just made that more necessary for us to be able to do that. So students will be directed to their Google Classrooms or be given work on Thursday to complete for Friday. We're hopeful that our second dose will be provided on Friday, March 19th. And we would currently want to plan in a very similar mode, a remote learning mode for that day as well. So just a reminder that Friday is a remote learning day for vaccination. School is still in session. They'll be working from home. Did want to give you a little bit of an update here. As we have continued to monitor the dashboard, as we continue to move forward. This was my Friday update at 4 p.m. I didn't get a chance to do any updates before our board meeting tonight. We continue to report positive cases that are reported to us via Knox Public Health or parent attendance calls. So you can see on February 18th, last Friday, we only had 3 active student cases and 1 active staff case. And that's kind of been a trend. It's been beginning to trend down. I did pull off this just for your information. I thought it was kind of interesting. I went back and looked at a lot of the updates that we have shared. And you can see back here in November 6th, at that point, we had 5 students and just 1 staff. And then in December, we started to grow a little bit. We had 8 and 8. Right before Christmas break, we dropped just a little bit, 6 and 6. And then coming back after the holidays, we had a spike there with student counts and teacher counts. And you can see it slowly started to kind of move its way kind of down to where we're at today. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for that. Some folks just may not be getting tested. Maybe we have slowly started to turn the corner a little bit. But we still certainly report everything that comes to us, and we try to keep that as updated as possible. This is kind of an interesting slide here. Again, it's cumulative updates. And so we have had over the course of September 10th all the way till, well, this would have been last Friday. We've had 108 students who have tested positive over that period of time. So that number seems certainly bigger over a span of about 4 or 5 months there. And we've had 61 staff members, and you can kind of see the general percentage there. And you can kind of see where the distribution lies there as well. Mostly at the elementaries, really fairly low from September to the present. Your 2 bigger areas are probably going to be your high school and your middle school. So I thought that was an interesting piece to add. I did want to shoot a congratulations. Dr. Bennett shared this congratulations earlier, but our Mount Vernon Middle School robotics team is state bound, and that team right there won the competition at Highland. I think you had mentioned that was Team E, I believe. They have a couple other teams that are right on the cusp for being able to qualify. And Emily Miller does a great job working with that robotics team. And the enthusiasm is just really kind of infectious and high. We had a competition just prior to the winter break over at the field house. And it was neat to be able to host that and to see our kids in action. I do have another congratulations. We have a freshman young lady, Emma Reinhardt. Emma is a female wrestler for us. And as female participants in wrestling has continued to grow throughout the state, you're starting to see some separated out competitions for them. And so the Ohio High School Wrestling Association puts on a ladies tournament, a state qualifier, so on and so forth. And Emma was a district champion and a state qualifier for this event. And she's only a freshman, so she's got a couple years kind of to go yet.
1 and 2 last weekend, or 1 and 3?
I think she went 1 and 2 at that competition, was really close in her second match. A topic we talked briefly about, and I know I've had some conversations about it. We will be resuming our gifted seminars in March and April for elementary students. The seminars are going to take place at Energy Fieldhouse. It seemed like the right place where we could really spread out and take advantage of those opportunities. And I think having those facilities, they're looking at March 11th as being kind of a team building opportunity to do various activities in such a space. I think the theme of the day is, what does cooperative learning look like? And then April 6th, they have another date scheduled over there. I think they're working out the logistics on what that day will look like. So it's kind of nice to be able to start slowly moving some things back to some sense of normalcy, but continue to be safe in the way in which we do it. This is a reminder that's coming out. ACT testing, as you're aware, all juniors are now mandated by the state of Ohio to participate in ACT tests. This year, the 4-hour test will be administered on Tuesday, March 9th. It does provide some logistics problems for us. So due to classroom space, social distancing, and supervision, freshmen, sophomores, and seniors on March 9th will be doing remote learning through their Google Classroom, so that we can take the entire junior class and spread them out, and we can make sure they have adequate time during that 4-hour window. If we would happen to have inclement weather, and I kind of predict we're not going to have any more, don't hold me to it, but we would have a makeup date if we would have to. But the ACT is something the state has really begun to push a little bit more. And so all of our juniors will be taking that on March 9th. Interestingly enough, when we let it snow, then it melts. And so I got I've had some notification from some building principals that when you have flat roofs and lots of snow, it just leads towards, leaks. And so we're working through some challenges with some leaky roofs right now. It's not uncommon when you have flat roofs. That's, the water will always try to find its way where it needs to find it. But there is an upside to the snow melting. Melting snow also is a sign of spring. And today was the first day for baseball and softball. I took that picture real quickly while I was at the field house. And do you think there's not a little bit of baseball and softball going on over there? I think it's a sign of spring, even though we've got to finish up certainly we have some winter activities still yet to finish. So that's kind of my update. And does anybody have any questions on that? All right, hearing none. We also have it for items of information, our use of credit cards. The auditor has asked us to update our use of credit cards. It's not uncommon to provide updates when they become necessary. So that's a policy update that you'll probably be seeing next month as a board approval piece. With that in mind, we just have 2 items for board approval tonight under this section. We have item number 1, which are memorandums of understanding with our Mount Vernon Education Association and our Mount Vernon OPSI group. And again, this is an understanding that addresses the use of paid leave for employees who have not previously exhausted the FFCRA leave. We've talked about this, I think, in a previous month and in updates. We're going to continue this through March 31st, which is when that provision resides. So we're going to approve that tonight. And also we're looking to approve the district calendar for 21-22 after consultation with various districts around us, including the Career Center and the ESC. You'll see we've actually adopted what many of you might remember as calendar option 1. It has us starting school in the middle of August. And it has us with a 2-week winter break. It has us with a traditional Thanksgiving holiday season. And it has us ending actually just before Memorial Day in this particular year. We'll post this on the district website so folks can have access to that. And we did share this calendar in a parent update as we kind of move through. Okay. And this used to say 18, and we made sure we counted them again, and it's 19, so we should be good to go there. Any questions on the calendar or the memorandums of understanding?
I would entertain a motion to approve the MOUs and the calendar. So moved. Thank you, Mrs. Getzman. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Gulladye. Were there any questions? Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Getzman.
Yes.
Mr. Gulladye.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. The success for tonight, I'm going to cut it pretty short. There were the first 2 items. One is North Royalton City High School seniors, Samantha and Nick, worked together to raise funds for a nonprofit group entitled the Friendship Room, which builds relationships and reaches out to the homeless, and it also addresses addiction and hunger issues in the community. And the reason this was such a neat article was that the counselor and the advisor for the Key Club was actually, it was her former childhood home that they were using for the Friendship House. And her mother had cancer and had wanted to volunteer and help at the Friendship House and wasn't able to because of her cancer. So she brought it to Key Club, and students were able to raise money. And I think she raised over $2,500. They raised a lot of donations and money as well. So that was just really a heartwarming article. The second one is about the Pickerington math teacher, Roger Bakes. And he created and published a card game, and it was entitled Little Piggies, based on the 3 Little Pigs story. And it's a way, he said, to learn your math facts away from looking at a screen all day and to have fun. So those 2 articles were kind of interesting, so I wanted to share those with you. And we'll go ahead then, items for information. We have,
Just have a couple other items for information here. Spring state testing dates. I know Kathy has been working diligently with looking at that. There's been some legislative kind of changes that have allowed us to move some things back. And so we're really just kind of sharing with you the testing windows that will come with state testing. I know there has been considerable conversation even at the state level, as maybe Ms. Reguladai will share, about should we even do some of these testings this spring. As of now, we're mandated to do them. So we've got them scheduled, and these are the time periods that we're scheduling them. And then the other item for information is just the ACT information that I shared with you briefly. And in this section, recommended items for board approval is a College Credit Plus partnership agreement with Kenyon College. It's an agreement we get into every year with them, and that's there for your approval.
thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve that item as mentioned. Thank you, Mr. Workman. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Reguladai. Were there any questions? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Ms. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. And Fiscal Services.
Well, as Mr. Cedar mentioned earlier, coming in tonight, I would have, and still do consider the financial part pretty boilerplate. The treasurer's office is extremely busy in January, but this report wouldn't reflect it because there's a lot of year-end stuff. So this is really boilerplate, not much going on. Mr. Cedar and Dr. Bennett did point out to me as I was lamenting our interest income, if you don't mind scrolling down, that it's actually better than it was, many years ago. We were just very spoiled in 2019 and 2020 because we had some large private donations, which allowed us to not only build the field house, but also make some interest off of that money as we held on to it. So I was lamenting, and they reminded me that, hey, we're doing okay. It's not bad compared to previous years. So really that's it in terms of the report. If there's no questions, if you go to the appropriation modification, we had one modification there. You can see the February line. I'm not going to pretend to know what color that is because colors I'm bad with. Gray. Appreciate it. The reason why we had to change our appropriated amount there is because we had a local township donate several $1,000s to the district of their COVID funds. They're so restricted that they're like, yeah, we don't want to deal with it. There's not much we can do with it. So we gladly took it off their hands and put it to good use. So that's why we had to change the appropriated amount in that fund. So that's it. And if there's no questions, I'll move forward with the donations.
I don't have a question, but do we send them a thank you note?
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
Okay. I assumed we would.
Yeah, it's brown.
Mr. Reguladai brought that to our attention, so.
Yeah, I would also just echo before we move forward that that's just an incredible gift from Brown Township and their willingness to think of us in that regard. And want to make sure that we use it in the most wise way and let them know how we use it.
And let them know we appreciate it.
Yeah, they were very generous to every school district that they touch. So we happen to be one of those, and they brought multiple what's the right word I'm looking for, multiple different waves of money that totaled up to about $16,000.
Mm-hmm.
I put a little padded in there in case they want to give us a little more on there. All right, we've got some donations to Dan Emmett from Wayne and Virginia Dunlop. They had a $200 of stimulus contribution to assist in purchasing winter coats. Same folks also gave a donation to Pleasant Street for, again, needed supplies. We had a donation to Pleasant Street from New Life Church. We have 2 buckets filled with school supplies, headphones, and winter outerwear. In our memorial book section, a book titled 3 Billy Goats Gruff, donated in memory of Maria Flood, who is the mother of Martha Mielek, who is a Mount Vernon High School Digital Academy teacher. We had the Giving Tree, donated in memory of Jan Collins, the mother of Jessica Moore, who is a Pleasant Street kindergarten teacher. The book titled Your Special Gift, donated in memory of Mary Coffin, the mother of Teresa Miller. And we had a book, Beyond the Bars, in memory of Frederick Charles Matthias, who is the brother of Lynette Tellick, the assistant to the treasurer. So always bittersweet to read that list. It's obviously a blessing of what the district does in memory of these people, but obviously, and that means people lost family members. So
Thank you. I would entertain a motion then to approve those fiscal services items as read.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gulladye. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mrs. Getzmann. And would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Gulladye,
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann,
Yes.
Mr. Workman,
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Ms. Gulladye, you have a legislative liaison report.
Thank you. The second, the week of February 15th is the one I'm going to concentrate on. HB2 was passed to the House. It establishes the residential broadband expansion and provides additional funding of $150 million for fiscal year 2022. SB 22 establishes the Ohio Health Oversight and Advisory Committee. HB 110 makes operating appropriations for the fiscal year 2022 and 23 biennium. The Finance Subcommittee on Primary and Secondary Education will begin hearings on that shortly. And then, as mentioned, in the House Primary and Secondary Education Committee, HB 67 was amended. This bill would waive state testing requirements for 2021 school year. It also would require ODE to seek a federal waiver from this testing. A final course grade would replace an end of course exam for a school diploma. In the House Ways and Means Committee, they heard proponent testimony from OSBA, OA, SBO, and VASA on HB 66, and this will require the state's tax expenditure report to include information on property tax. And HB 83 makes changes in the child support laws with regard to caretakers. And then finally, in the first link, I wanted to go back and there is the House Finance Committee hearing testimony from ODE on the executive budget proposal. This proposal outlines the procedures and limitations on the administration of this proposal. And it covers everything from licensures, court appeals, to the creation of different departments in the state. So that's it for this time. If any questions or comments, oh, I meant to tell you, I sent an email to Representative Carfagna thanking him for his support and co-sponsoring the new funding bill for public education.
Thank you.
Anything that you want to ask or want me to do? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have some items.
You have a couple of items recommended for board approval tonight. They're facility requests. First is a little bit of a step back. The Mount Vernon Youth Wrestling Program had a Little Stingers event canceled, and so we just moved it to the following week. That week has certainly passed, but we wanted to formalize a board approval of that change in date and time. And so that's why you see that on your agenda. And then as we continue to utilize and share our facilities, of which we're incredibly blessed, St. Vincent de Paul track team will have access to use our outdoor track and field facilities from March 15th through May 22nd. So we're always grateful to be able to kind of share some of those things. Those two items for your approval.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve those two items. Thank you, Mr. Workman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gulladye. Were there any questions? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Gulladye.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. And student services, there's nothing tonight, okay? We'll go ahead then to personnel.
All right. Under our personnel certificated and licensed staff, no items for information at this time. We do have a number of employment items, kind of traditional in this section. Additional substitute teacher. We have some supplemental positions, especially as we move into the springtime portion of the year. And we did have a switch midway through our winter season with the middle school ski club advisor, so we're making that kind of a correction there. We did have a couple resignations, and you'll be approving those tonight. So those two items under this section.
I would entertain a motion to approve those two items.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Thank you, Mrs. Getzmann. Were there any questions? Would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Regola-Dye,
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann,
Yes.
Mr. Workman,
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. And classified staff.
Under classified staff, no items for information tonight. Number of items recommended for board approval. First, our one-year limited contracts. And as you recall, teachers generally will have their contracts renewed at the end of the traditional calendar year. In classified staff, it's on their anniversary date of hire. And so sometimes we'll see some of these periodically. So a number of one-year limited contracts, as you can see there. And then item B are two-year contracts for a number of employees. We do have a couple retirements, some retirements of folks who have worked with us for quite a few years. Both Stephen and Teresa Davis have been longtime bus drivers for the district. And so we hope we have a chance to honor them as we, move into May, but they're ready to retire here at the end of February. Some of those people you saw that we hired, we've been blessed to be able to find replacements during the middle of the year, which isn't often easy, but we certainly wish them well in their retirement. And we have a number of resignations, transfers, and substitute employment.
I would entertain a motion to approve the classified staff items as read.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Workman. Were there any questions? Would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Regola-Dye,
Yes.
Mr. Workman,
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann,
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. And we do need to go into executive session for the purpose of employment. So there will not be any action taken afterward. So at this time, we'll allow everyone to leave and appreciate your coming, and please take some celebratory treats with you when you go. And think of Mr. Cedar. And is there